Earlier, we had the truth about go-to-market challenges. So now, let's talk about the strategies. Our next speaker was a favorite from last year when he spoke about lead generation. And he was so good that we have asked him to come back today. Clear, concise, and he's all about practical insights and tips to help you scale your business. I've actually checked out his website and been through the work that they do, and it is really good. So I encourage you, find this man and go through his work. From VCs to startups, from coaching and investment in Silicon Alley, this gentleman has scaled B2B SaaS company Beekeeper, and now today is building DACH's leading go-to-market consultancy. Today, he'll share his insights from his journey with the title, How AI Agents Transform the Modern Go-to-Market Strategies. When I asked this gentleman something about him personally, he said he loves the outdoors. He loves sports and activities, but apparently isn't very good because he's broken well over 10 bones. So I would say break a leg, but perhaps today, maybe not. Not this time. Please welcome to the stage our one and only Joël Capt.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Ben, for that warm introduction and also the lovely insight about my private successes with sports. It's been exactly 1 year since I was standing on this stage the last time. I can tell you the lights are still same disturbing. But back then, I was talking about how AI has introduced a new era of how we do sales and marketing. Now, 1 year has passed, and while real AI use cases still remain only ideas in most industries and domains, I can tell you it fundamentally changed how we build go-to-market systems these days. What do I mean with this? There are, generally speaking, two main problems we have when we scale businesses. The first one being productivity. So as you see on this slide, a salesperson today still spends around 10 to 15 hours per week for manual grunt work. Research, finding contacts, writing emails, this is just a massive pain that I guess a lot of you are facing yourself when you're founders, or your sales and marketing teams do when you scale your businesses. In numbers, that means around 30 to 45,000 Swiss francs of lost productivity per person. So even if this is only yourself, that's a big number, but imagine you're having 5 to 10 salespeople, what that exactly means. Now, the second problem is that this very productivity is actually declining with the amount of marketing and salespeople you're hiring. So the graph you see here shows that the more revenue we're actually making, the more people we need to hire, and the more your growth rate is declining. And this is just how things are, right? Due to additional overheads, fewer accountability, lost productivity. Now, the very crazy thing is that although over the past 30 years, we have all experienced massive advancements in technology, the playbook with which we scaled businesses has not changed. The playbook remained to be exactly this. So that means when I have a revenue gap of 5 million to close, then I would calculate what's the productivity per salesperson in the first year. Let's assume it's 500,000. So that would mean if I calculate a factor of also ramp up and onboarding time, I would need to hire around 10 salespeople, maybe 12 with the ramp up time to fill this gap. And this is still how we calculate models today in its most simple version. Now, when the AI revolution came in late 2023, things started to shift a little bit. But it still took us until 2025 to really reach a breakthrough. A breakthrough that today allows us to not scale with people anymore, but scale with technology. To better understand this, I want to share a little bit of history. What you see here is the evolution of the so-called SDR playbook, Sales Development Representative Playbook. Until 2010, sales was just doing everything manually, maybe buying a lead list here and there. In 2010, all the databases came, ZoomInfo, Discover.org, and so on. So sales was still doing everything manually, but at least they had a database they could tap in and get some data. In 2020, the sales automation revolution came. And believe it or not, but today we have more than 2,000 AI sales automation tools in the market. These are the Apollos, the Ample Markets, the Lemlists. We call them all-in-one tools because they're amazing to get started with your go-to-market system, but at the same time, they're kind of Swiss Army knives. They allow you to do everything a little bit, but of course, it's not the best tool for every single function. So I get far with a Swiss Army knife, but I could not create a table or a chair with a Swiss Army knife, right? Now, what the first three evolutions have in common is that they were all targeted towards salespeople. So we try to solve the problem of sales productivity by designing and creating tools that are operated by salespeople and make them more productive. But the big shift that now happened is that the newest revolution brought a system. And this system we call an AI lead generation or an AI go-to-market system. And it's a system that can operate autonomously, completely replacing human tasks and works we were doing manually before. And that's a huge, big step. Why? Well, it means that the traditional scaling playbook is not the same anymore as how we scale today. The same way we develop and build software for our clients, we now can build software for our own go-to-market system. The way such an AI go-to-market system looks like is the following. This is the architecture of such a system. It's basically a combination of different tools that mainly allow you to do four things. First of all, you can capture and monitor your entire market you can potentially sell to. You can monitor this market for certain signals. Signals that show you that there is intent or that there is a need for buying your solution. These signals are then pushed into what we call a data operating system. So this is a system that then can aggregate any kind of company or contact information. We can build intelligence into this system, so it knows what is your ideal customer profile, what are your buyer personas, and when we connect this system with your CRM, then it also becomes truly intelligent and it can compare where in the buying journey is this person. That information is then pushed into your engagement unit where you're going to use different channels, be it email, LinkedIn, post letters, AI calling, which soon will also come into mainstream, to ultimately communicate and push your value proposition. Now, I could elaborate 30 more minutes on how this system works, but that's not the goal today, because today we actually want to talk already about the next step. And the next step is that when you have built such a system for your company, now we can build workflows that operate completely automatically. So that means a workflow that starts with a signal measured, going into the system, all decisions happening automatically, emails, LinkedIn engagement, written automatically, hyper-personalized in any language you desire, and then actually the person is engaged. And these workflows we call SDR agents. sales development representative agents. It's workflows that replace the need for human work that was before done by the salespeople. So they monitor different signals such as people movement, people getting fired, people getting hired. Always a good reason to reach out when new energy is basically coming into a company. Social listening on LinkedIn, on Reddit. Are they talking about a certain pain that you're solving? Reviews on Google, Glassdoor, news. Any kind of custom digital trace that is left, you can track if this is relevant to you. Why is this so beneficial? First of all, these agents are very relevant to a specific need and intent, why you engage with the person. They're also relevant in terms of time, because it's right now where the person sends this signal. And importantly, of course, it replaces the human manual work you were doing before. Now, we heard from Ben before that I like to be practical, and that start was probably not too practical. So let me show you two very specific examples of such an agent. The first agent I call the newly funded agent. It's something that might be interesting for all of you. This is an example about lead generation. And what this agent does is it tracks any kind of fundraisers happening in the DACH market. So every time there is a fundraise happening, there is a platform called deutschestartups.de. They of course publish this. Every time there is a new blog article, this is automatically scraped as a signal. That information is pushed into our data operating system, which is Clay. Clay basically rips this information apart, it analyzes the information, it produces us the necessary company and contact information, it compares with the CRM, is this a customer, is it an opportunity, is it a new lead? And if everything is on green lights, then it pushes the new information into our HubSpot CRM. Additionally, a notification to the salespeople, and a personalized message is drafted particularly to this person, congratulating for the fundraise and offering a piece of value, which in our case is a free strategy session, so they can spend 1 full hour with an expert helping them to reach the next level. Sometimes the AI does such a good job that people reply, "Thank you for this very sympathetic message." So that's the level you can already reach with hyper-personalization. Now, for the ones of you that have some experience with building go-to-market systems, maybe 1-2 years ago, all those outbound tools, you would know that reaching a conversion rate of 3% is already good. If you remain with the same tactics you did 2-3 years ago, your conversion rates are probably down at 0.5 or 1%, right? If you build such agents and you provide real value, as you see here, we reach conversion rates of 12%. But honestly, I don't care if this is 12%. I don't care if it's maybe 8 or even 5. This is 100% automated, running. If my team is sleeping, if they're partying or drinking beer, it does not matter, right? These processes you build and they are running, and that's the power of an SDR agent. Now, this is just an example related now on fundraising, but you can imagine this trigger does not need to be fundraising. It could be anything, any signal that is relevant for your business and your market, and you can use as a reason to reach out. Now, the entire market right now is, of course, very hot when it comes about this lead generation aspects. But these systems go further. It's not just about lead generation, it can just be also about productivity. This example is actually my personally favorite SDR agent. I call it the Discovery Note. And it's about productivity. So what this agent does is every time a person signs up on our website, they only need to fill in very little information. The lead is captured, and automatically the information is then basically sent to our CRM, but it's also sent to our Clay system. I don't need to ask for that many data points anymore because Clay anyways is giving me all the answers to the information I want to know. It can find out everything about the company, can find everything about the contact, and then it basically completes that data. It puts it into the CRM and also in a format I can easily digest it as a salesperson. And then I get a perfect note in my CRM about, hey, there is a discovery call upcoming. This is the information about the person. This is the information about the company. And I don't need to do any of this research anymore. I can just open my CRM and I have everything prepared. Does not sound that crazy, but it actually is. Why? Before, in average, I would have around 8 discovery calls per week. Each discovery call lasts 30 minutes, so I spend 4 hours in calls. Without the research part, it would take me 20 to 30 minutes to research each call I have about the company, about the contact. So I would actually spend around 8 hours, a full day per week on these 8 discovery calls. With this process, I'm now down to 4.3 hours because I don't need to do the research anymore. I only need 5 to 10 minutes to prepare for the call. And also the system can already tell me in the beginning of the week, 2 of those 8 calls are not qualified. It's not an ideal customer profile. Don't even talk to them. So we can decline the calls directly and lead them into another direction where they get the help they need. Now, this is just half a day. But this half a day of a CEO that works part-time in sales, right? Imagine you're a full-time salesperson, it might be a day. Imagine you have 10 salespeople, it's a lot of productivity you can actually win back. Now, what should you do? Are we standing here in 2 years and everyone is just having a shit ton of agents, sending stuff around and emails and knowing everyone? No, of course not. Right? That's not what we aim to do. Ultimately, we want to build a holistic AI go-to-market system that provides real value. And real value means you start by winning the capability in your business to identify who all those companies and buyer personas are out there. What are their names? What are their contact details? This is the very start of every modern go-to-market strategy you build these days. Okay, this is where you start. And once you have won this ability, then you start to develop meaningful, valuable conversion strategies where you can offer the people value to which they also respond positively. So alone today, I got 3 shitty outbound emails starting with, hey Joel, I see you do A, you probably have problem B, we solve B. Do you want to talk? Hell no, I don't want to talk. Of course not, right? Still today, so many people are doing this. This is not how you build go-to-market, and it's also how you do sales, okay? So develop strategies that are meaningful. Maybe a market study, a benchmark report, an event, a roundtable, whatever it is that attracts people to your brand. This is what we mean with conversion strategies. Once you have that figured out, use AI to personalize all of this. Use automation to make it multi-channel to really reach all the people where they are. Doesn't matter if it's email, if it's letters, if it's LinkedIn, maybe it's ads. And then automate everything in the background, glue it together in a real go-to-market system, and this is how you can scale. If you do this right, this is what you can achieve. This is a screenshot from an automation tool that does sequencing. You see in the top row that there are 643 emails that got sent, 3 emails per person, so about 213 emails, and we had 88 positive replies. That's a positive reply rate of more than 40%. This client was doing only one strategy over 12 months, but we built an entire system. We warmed up the market, we built a brand, and we offered a lot of value. Then you reach such results. More than 400 calls booked, 800K in revenue closed, which as an agency meant a lifetime value of 8 million. Do you reach that from day one? No, of course not, right? But when you build your brand and when you provide value over time, over and over, you create what we call a compounding effect. People seeing you, people seeing your brand, people constantly receiving value from you. And when the need appears and the timing is right, then they're definitely going to be thinking about you and considering you as their preferred solution. Now, what do I want you as revenue leaders to take from this keynote? First of all, I think the message is clear. Stop scaling through hiring. Start scaling by building system. This is going to be the future. More importantly, some of the examples or many of the examples I gave you today are focused around the area of marketing and sales. And this is definitely where the revolution is happening the strongest right now. But it does not stop with marketing and sales. All revenue teams, also customer success, will be revolutionized by those systems. Because you cannot just use it top of funnel, you can also use it at the bottom of the funnel to re-engage with clients, past clients, current clients for upselling and cross-selling. Now I have 3 last things I want to give you along the way. But before I do that, if you are interested in this topic, we've put together a whole library of free content, videos, detailed explanations, everything you need to build such systems yourself. You can just scan this QR code and type in your email and you get access to it. If you have questions, feel free to come by later, either to me or to our booth outside there. Happy to dive deeper. But the 3 main things I want to leave you with is stop hiring, start building, and maybe you need to hire a different profile to start building. Provide real value and conversion will follow. You can build the very best AI lead generation technology. If you try to sell shit, it's not going to work. Think about your conversion strategy and the value you're actually putting out there, right? And then it's going to work. And the last, build a real system. Don't send isolated campaigns like back in the days. Build a real system, glue it together, provide value over time, compound your effects, and then you're going to have a huge impact on your own go-to-market. Now, that's it from my side. We have 6 more minutes to do Q&A. Ben, are you already ready?
Coming. Hopefully, my lovely visual team are going to bring out the QR code up on the screen. So if you have questions for Joel, please ask them now. They're going to come through to my tablet here. I'll start, though, with a question from, for those you mentioned, when AI is doing well, look at what can happen when it does a good job. So what would you say to the people out there going, yeah, but what does it happen? Like, if it doesn't do a good job, for those customers that don't get that very personalized message?
Yeah. I would say, like with anything we build in engineering, there is the technology, but at the end, it's also what do you make out of it, right? So the better you build, the better it's going to perform. And I think definitely a challenge is that there are so many different tools out there that sometimes we don't even see the forest due to all the trees, right? So talk to someone that is very experienced in that field to get a glimpse and an understanding of how such an architecture looks like, what technologies you should use and what you should avoid. And then I think you're already on a good track.
Nice. Cool. What would be an optimal business user case?
An optimal business use case for what exactly?
For this, I've just got a question that says, what would be?
Right.
Give us a use case, an
A
example.
use case. Okay, whatever example it might be. So we have service and consulting businesses. We have SaaS businesses. We have deep tech businesses. It doesn't matter at all, right? But if you as a company reach the level where you're certain about your product market fit and you now need to start winning more clients and grow your go-to-market, this is where you start building such a system to attract more prospects to your brand and win them as a customer.
Cool. Nice. Can you build such agents as a freelancer, or is it too expensive?
No, you can absolutely do this, right? I mean, this space is quite new. Some of those technologies are just around since maybe around 2 years. So only a few people yet have true professional experience in this. But the beauty is the technology you build is ultimately quite cheap to run once it's built. So this entire architecture, which you saw before, a professional AI lead generation system, that's going to cost you maybe around 500 to 550 Swiss francs per month to run. That's all the software cost it's actually going to cost you.
Excellent. Which, depending on what industry you are, you make your money back with a single client. Easy. I like this one. What would you recommend to a new marketing agency? Where to start looking at for building something like this? Does that make sense? What would you recommend for a new marketing agency who are interested in doing this?
Yeah. So if you're a marketing agency or a software agency or whatever, and you want to build something like this yourself, definitely start having a look at the platform I mentioned before, which is called clay.com. That's definitely one of the core technologies which you need to master. There is also a clay community in Switzerland where you can come and learn for free, get educated, and connect with other people in that space. And if you want to go very fast about it and really build a professional system and you need some help with that, of course, you can also talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Pecora's stand is just inside the main hall. Where you're having coffee on the right, just on the left, Pecora is there, and you were there all day yesterday. So just a couple more, and a couple have been upticks is, what benchmarking are realistic with this?
Yeah. So there is no benchmarking for this. Why? Let me explain. When you define your ideal customer profiles, you should also understand what are the related deal sizes. Okay, so if you have one ideal customer profile, it might be that your deal sizes are, let's say, 10K per year, right? But if you're in another industry, your deal size might be 100K. So the way you then build your lead generation system is, of course, also designed to those deal sizes. So the smaller your deal size, the more volume you work with, the smaller your conversion rates are. The larger your deal sizes, the less volume, the more valuable tactics you actually choose. So that means good conversion rates, they can range all the way from 5% to, let's say, a maximum of 15, 20%. So such cases that are presented before, 40% is like absolutely rare. It almost never happens. But if you're anywhere in that space, then that's really good.
Cool. I'm going to end with a couple of silly ones. Where can I get a t-shirt like this? Who asked that? Who asked the t-shirt question? One over here. No. Where can they get t-shirts like this?
Yeah, you should come by the booth as well.
Is it also clay on purpose, clay color? Anyway.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
We should sell it this way.
Stone.
Yeah.
And finally, the question from me is, you said you let your team go out partying and dancing all night. Do you go with them?
I think I have to.
Amen.
Yeah.
Co-founder, absolutely, and CEO of Peakora. Please give a very, very warm welcome as well. Thank you very much. Brilliant, brother. Thank you so much. Cheers.